The ability to climb a wall is possibly the most important movement skill that anyone can learn outside of the basics like walking, running, jumping, and picking stuff up. Now, why do I believe that this is the case? The obvious reason is that the wall climb is a really useful movement, and is one that has literally saved my bacon multiple times. But that alone wouldn't make me consider the wall climb such an important movement. No, the reason that I think the wall climb is so important is because encapsulated within it are some of the core building blocks required to become a great mover. And not only that, there's more than one way to climb a wall. And for each of those different methods, the strengths and skills required vary quite a bit. But before we delve into that, let's talk about why the wall climb is such a useful skill in and of itself. Well, whether you're ascending using the slow and controlled technique of a climber, or doing a parkour style wall run, or you're doing a parkour style wall run. Hello. Editing Bill here. So I had a bit of a problem filming this video because I decided to film a video all about climbing walls in the middle of the English autumn. But I got lucky and the British weather blessed me with one beautiful rain-free day. Unfortunately, everything was still absolutely soaked. So I ended up with a bunch of clips of me slipping, crashing, and generally just fluffing stuff up. So in case, like me, you need to be reminded of basic physics, climbing wet things is hard. Anyway, back to you, me, or doing a parkour style wall run. The obvious answer is that it lets you get up, onto, and over things. But why is that useful? Well, for one, it's just another tool in your toolbox for being a capable human being. Maybe you need to get up onto a roof to get down a lost football or a trapped drone. Or your windows need cleaning, so you climb up onto the extension at the back of your house. Or maybe you just want to get to a high place so you can get a better view. And sometimes it's just quicker, easier, or simply more fun to climb over a wall than it is to take the long way around. But there are also more serious implications to being able to climb a wall. While I've never had to use my skills to evade a life-threatening situation, I did once use them to escape a bunch of bullies. To keep a long story short, when I was about 9, I was playing at my local park with a new friend I'd just made. We were having a great time until his older brother turned up and decided that I wasn't good enough to be friends with his little brother. I tried to ask why, but that just pissed him off. At which point he took a swing at me. And so I ran. The brother and his friends were blocking the gate, so I went for the fence instead. It was tall, but that worked in my favour. So I scrambled up the fence, dropped down the other side, and sprinted off before any of the bullies could catch me. I still don't understand what I did wrong, but in the end, I'm just glad I was capable of climbing that fence. So yeah, while you could say that the wall climb, or in this case the fence climb, didn't save my life, it definitely did save me from something. And I'm sure you can easily see why being able to climb up or down a wall could save yours or someone else's life. Now I do realise that a fence isn't technically a wall, but the thing is, the principles of climbing a wall aren't all that different from that of climbing a fence. In fact, there are 6 key elements that apply every time you climb basically anything. And those 6 elements are the pull-up, the thing you'll be doing a lot of to get up a wall. The dip. Once you reach the top of the wall, you'll need to get your body up high enough to get your feet, knees, or legs up onto whatever you're getting onto. And the dip will give you the space to do that. The transition. The transition is the movement between the pull-up and the dip when you reach the top of a wall, when you're transitioning from being below the wall to above the wall. These 3 movements combined form the muscle up, climb up trifecta. Balance. When it comes to balance, it's all about having your feet in the best position possible to support your weight, keeping the load off of your upper body. On an easier climb, that position is usually right below you, but on harder climbs, foot position and balance can get a bit more complicated. Finger strength. I feel like this one is quite self-explanatory. Your fingers need to be strong enough and have enough endurance to support your weight while you climb. And finally, impacts. What goes up must come down, and usually after climbing up a wall, the best way down is the quick one. If you're climbing a lot of walls, then you will soon get used to the drops and the impacts. So if you can master these 6 elements, you'll find that there aren't many walls that you can't climb. But the benefit that you gain from becoming proficient at these skills ends up being more useful than the climbing itself. Except maybe the climb up transition. That's pretty much only useful for climbing. But the other parts are all useful in other ways. The pull-ups and the dips are essentially pulling and pushing strength, which are useful to have in a multitude of tasks. tasks. And then there's finger strength, which is more than just useful for climbing a wall. Good balance is great for a bunch of reasons, from martial arts to mountaineering, as well as reducing the risk of a bad fall as you age. And being able to take the impact from a drop is one of those things that's really great to know that you can do. Because if you ever have to do anything at height, like standing on a stool or a stepladder, you don't have to be worried, because you know that you can take the drop to the floor comfortably if you have to. Each of these elements, apart from the transition, have multiple uses outside of just climbing a wall, but each can be learned and practiced while climbing a wall. And one of the great things is that you don't have to start with a really high, really difficult wall. If you can only climb over a wall that's waist height or chest height, that's fine. And if you keep practicing, your ability to tackle harder barriers will develop with time. Let us not forget that there is more than one way to climb a wall. I will not go over all of them because if I did, we would be here for several hours. But here is a small selection just off the top of my head and the benefits that they bring. You could climb more dynamically, jumping from one handhold to another, and that would train your ability to generate power, which in case you don't know, is the combination of strength and speed. You could forego using your legs entirely and just use raw upper body strength to beat the wall. Or you could go more parkour style by skipping the start with a wall run, training your sprinting, precise footwork and leg power in the process. You could even skip most of the climbing entirely by climbing up something significantly easier and then just jumping from there to the roof. There are so many different ways to climb a wall, each with their own varied skill set. So many in fact, that if you were to train them all, you would not only become amazingly strong, but you'd also become an incredible mover. It's a bit weird, isn't it, that as a child, it's expected of us that we would want to run around, explore, and climb on things, and we are given spaces that are entirely dedicated to doing that. Playgrounds are a place where children are given the opportunity to test themselves, to push their limits, to understand what they're capable of, and to get stronger in the process. But as an adult, we are relegated to boring old gyms. No offense if you love training at the gym, it's just not really my thing. If we're really lucky, we might have a calisthenics park to train at, but in the UK that's still pretty rare. The real question is, why do we stop playing as adults? Obviously, I realise that adults don't want to play in the same way children do, making up nonsense games and just running around aimlessly. But why aren't there more adult playgrounds? Places we can run, jump and climb around. Places where we can push ourselves and test our limits. Well, there is one place you can do this, and that is the environment around you. When you stop seeing the space around you as just a place to walk and drive through, and instead see it as a place to challenge yourself and try new skills, the world doesn't seem quite so dull. And yeah, I know this is sounding like some cliched bullshit emotional ending like,
"Whoa, dude, turns out the world was our playground all along."
But you know, we have to take what we can get. I would love for every town to have parkour parks, calisthenics rigs and climbing walls all in abundance. But they don't, so go outside and climb a wall instead. And if you can't be bothered to climb a wall right now, and you'd rather just sit around at home instead, then maybe you'll want to watch my video on why I sit around at home without any furniture. It's just over there.